Hi, welcome to what I call Linda's Take on Office. Today we are going to be looking at Excel, Module 6, INDA Module Project 1, the Murray Medical assignment. We're going to be looking at an Excel spreadsheet and looking at different ways to refine the data, just to make it easier to read. I have already downloaded the starter file and the instructions from Cengage. And I have already saved my spreadsheet on my computer, so I am all ready to go with the assignment. So the first thing we need to do is come here to the account representatives, and you can see there's a lot of data in here already, and we already have a table down here for the account representatives. And we want to be able to manipulate this data. We want to look at it to analyze the performance on our accounts. So we're going to make this data into a table. So I'm going to select A10 and I'm going to come clear down here to I-29. Then on the Insert tab, I'm going to say Table. And so it's going to create a table for me. My table does have headers, so I've got headers across the top of my columns there. So I'm going to say OK. And you can see now I have access to the table design option. In our table design option, we want it to be a dark green table style medium 3. So right over here in table styles, I want the dark green table style medium 3. That's just changing the color. That's all the styles option is doing, is changing the color information on your table. We also want to name our table. So you can see over here, clear on the left-hand side of the ribbon, we have our table name. By default, it's table 2 because there's already another table they've created in here. We're going to actually name it. It's just to make it easier to move from table to table, especially if you're working in a large worksheet. And our table, we want to name Account Reps. And make sure you spell it correctly. We're going to hit Enter. And so now we have our account reps table created here in our worksheet. We want to sort the data in our table. And you can see since we have our table, we have these little drop-down arrows. When you click on those little arrows, you can see we could sort them from A to Z, Z to A, and then down here we can actually even dive deeper. Maybe we only want to see one hospital. So we can dive deeper into the information in our table. We actually want to do this first in ascending order by our account rep name, but then in descending order by cell, so it's easy to identify the top seller for each rep. So to do that, we're going to come up here, make sure we're in our table, and then up here on our Data tab, to do that, we're going to come up here and then go to Sort. And our first sort we want to do by account rep, and we want that in alphabetical order from A to Z. We want to add another level of sorting to this information. So we're going to add a level, and we want to now sort this by total cells, and we want it to be in descending order, which is largest to smallest. So we want the largest total first for each account rep. We're going to say OK, and you can see how now we have by account rep, but then within each account rep, we can see right away, hey, the data science device is what Flowers has sold the most of. So you can sort and analyze your data in whatever way you need to look at it. Moving on in our assignment, we notice that each account rep is assigned to a tier that determines whether they receive a salary bonus. So over here in our table, we have tier, a tier column already created, and we're going to come here in H11 and make that our active cell. Always pay attention in Excel to make sure that you're on the right worksheet and in the right cell. So here in our tier, we are going to do a VLOOKUP function. So up here in my search bar, I can just type in VLOOKUP, and it's going to find it. This is a lookup that uses a structured reference to bring back information. So we've got G11 is our active cell, and our lookup value, or H11, sorry, our lookup value is from G11, and we want our data range for the bonus, the table array, to look at K6 through L9. So right up here we've got K6 through L9. And we want that to be absolute value, so no matter where we move anything to, it's always going to look back at these. And to make that an absolute value, I'm just going to hit my F4 key on my function keys across the top of my keyboard. Our tier column, it wants us to look at column 2 for the name. So right here is our column 2 from our tier. We don't want to do anything with the range lookup. We're going to leave that blank. Then we're going to say OK. And you can see it automatically fills in the rest of our information for us, so we know exactly which tier the salesperson is in. Now, Murray Medical awards a bonus of 5% to any account rep who is in the platinum tier. And we're going to show that bonus amount here in column I. So we're going to make I11 the active cell, and we're going to use the if function. So up here in my search bar, I can type in if, and the very first one is my if function, and here's my arguments. My logical test is if the value in the tier field is equal to platinum. So here in H11, if that's equal to platinum, and I want to enter in platinum with parentheses, and make sure you capitalize it and spell it correctly. And now we want, if that is true, then we want to take our total cells times 0.05 or 5%, and if it's false, if it isn't platinum, we want it to be 0. And we're going to say OK, and it's going to enter all that information in for us. Now here in our evaluation scores, we've been asked to enter some icons, so it just kind of shows right away, and they want us to use the star icon, and we're going to find those conditional formatting area. So we're going to come up here to the Home tab, and our conditional formatting is there, but we want to first select the range we want to format. So we're going to select the range G11 to G29. Up here in conditional formatting, we have icon sets, and we want the stars. We're going to come clear down here to more rules because we want to be a little more specific. So here are our icon sets. We want to change the icon style to the stars, and we want it to be fully colored in when it's greater or equal to 8. And we want that to be a number. We want it to be partially filled when it's greater or equal to 6. And make that a number. You might have to go back here and make these values again when 8 when it's fully colored, 6 when it's partially colored, and then when you have those entered, it's going to be no color at all when it's less than 6. So make sure you change that type to number there. Value 8 and 6. We're going to say OK. And it's going to put little stars in there so you can see at a glance who has a fully colored gold star. We can add a total row to our table to automatically total information for us. So we're going to come over here and just select in the table somewhere. And up here we have table design. Now if for some reason you don't see the table design when you come up here, you don't see the filter icons here, if you just go to the data and then click on filter, then that was going to turn that back on for you. We want to add a total row to our table, so I'm going to come up to the table design, and over here is a total row, and it's going to automatically add this in here. It's automatically adding up our rep bonus for us. We want it to count how many clients we have. So in here, the B column, B30, if you select that, so you get this little arrow box right here. You're going to select that, and we're going to choose count, and it's automatically going to count that for us. We also want it to add or sum the total cells for us. So over here in F30, make that our active cell. Click on the little icon there, and we want the sum. And then we want the average of our eval score. So if you click on G30, then select that little box, and we want it to be average. And it's going to automatically do that, totaling, averaging for us, all because we selected that total row in our table. Now up here we have some key findings that we're wanting to look at, and so we want to know what our average DESTRA cells are. So we want to look for the D average, the DESTRA cells average. So up here in our search bar, we can just type in D average, and it's going to come up here. We're going to have a little function, our argument box. We want to, our range reference or our database that we're wanting to look at is A10 to I29. So we're going to come up here to A10 down to I29. The field that we're wanting it to look at is the total cells. So I'm just going to type in total cells. And our criteria, we want to look in Q5 colon Q6, which is the DESTRA information. So right here we have Q5 and Q6. Look for the device and DESTRA. And we're going to say OK. And so there's our average DESTRA cells. So now in 07, we want to enter a formula that uses the SUMIF function to total the cells for the DESTRA medical device. So make sure 07 is your active cell. Up here in the search bar, we're going to type in SUMIF. Bring back that function arguments here. Our range that we want to select for our device values is E11 to E29. So it wants it to look at the device names here. Our criteria is from Q6. We only want it to look up the DESTRA information. And then our sum range, what we wanted to add is our total cells, which is F11 to F29. So you can see we're telling it to look at our devices, specifically at the DESTRA device, and add those up, and then say OK. So there are our total DESTRA device sales. In 07, we want to count how many DESTRA reps we have. So up here in our search bar, we're going to type in Countif and select that to bring up our arguments. The range we're wanting it to look at is our counts rep device. So right here, E11 to E29. Our criteria, again, is going to be Q6. We only want to bring back those who sell the DESTRA. And we're going to say OK. And so we have 4 reps that focus on our DESTRA device. Now we want to identify clients in the Southeast with totals of 100,000 or more, and we want to move those to a separate part of our worksheet. So we're going to, up here, we have a criteria range on our worksheet. So the area we want it to look for is Southeast. So Southeast. And what we want it to look at is the total sales. Are they greater or equal to 100,000? So that is our criteria. That's all we have to do right up here. So now we're going to use an advanced filter to filter out that information from our table here. So up here on our Data tab, we're going to come over here to Advanced. So Sort and Filter area, we want the Advanced filter. We're going to copy our information to another location. In my list range, I want my list range to be A10 to I29. So I'm just going to select that range, A10 to I29. My criteria range is A5 to I6. So right up here is my criteria. It's what I wanted to actually look for. And I want it to copy that information down to A34 to I34. So my list range was A10 to I29. Criteria range A5 to I6, and I want it to copy to A34 to I34. Then when I say OK, you can see it brought down here in the bottom the account reps in the Southeast that had sold over 100,000. We also want to list clients in other parts of the country in our worksheet. We don't want to duplicate what's already down there in the extract range. So up here in our table, we want to use our filter arrows. Now you notice they're gone. So if I want to bring them back, I'm just going to come up here to my Data tab and click on Filters. Make sure your active cell is a cell that's in the table. Click on the filter, and now we have our filter options back again. We want to filter the table to display all clients except those in the Southeast. So right here we have our area. We have everything down here. We don't want to see Southeast, so we can just deselect the sort. We can just deselect Southeast and then say OK. And we're not going to see anything from the Southeast. Now, it's important to note that we haven't deleted anything from the table. We have only filtered the information. And you know there's a filter on that because we have this little filter icon right next to the area, and that lets us know that this area has been filtered. Now, on the Devices worksheet, I'm going to come down here and select the Devices worksheet. We want to clear the filter so that we can see all the data. So we can look by each one of the heading names, and when we come to the one that has a little filter icon, we can click on that and then just say Clear Filter, and now you see all the information in our table. Right now it's sorted by release date, and we don't want that. We want it sorted by device name in alphabetical order. So we're going to come up here to our device name heading, click on our little arrow box there, and sort A to Z, and it's going to sort the data in our table by device name. We want this table to match in looks our table in the Account Representatives table worksheet. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select a cell somewhere within the table. That brings up my table design option up here in my ribbon. come over here to my table styles, and I want to find that dark green table style medium 3. Select that. Then I want to come here to D4, and you can see I can't see all of the heading name. I want to wrap that information. So up here on the Home tab, I'm going to come over to Wrap Text so that table looks a little nicer. I also have another entry that I need to add to this table. So I'm going to come down here to the end of the table in H10. If I hit my Tab key, it's going to add another row to my table. You can also do that by going up to Table Design, Add Row. I'm going to enter in the information here. My device name is the Vivo 3, and it is a vital signs monitor. And as you see, when I start typing it in, it automatically fills the data in for me. So if that's correct, I just need to hit the Tab key to move over to my release date, which is 10/17/2020. Hit the Tab key. Unit cost is $13.86. Everything is already formatted correctly. My unit price is $1,500, and my profit in dollars and my profit percentage is already calculated for me. I'm now ready to save my workbook, and I'm going to close it. In Cengage, I'm going to come back to my assignment, and I'm going to submit my assignment for grading, and then check my graded summary report, and I got 86 out of 100. I tell you, I can't tell you how many times I have done this assignment, and I feel like I'm doing it correctly, and I come back and there is something that I've messed up. So let's look and see. In the account representative worksheet, the formula in 07 should reference the range E11 to E29. So I'm going to open up my file again, and I'm going to come to the account representatives, and let's see, the formula in 06, go over here to 06, should reference the range A10 to I29. So instead of having this account reps table, it should be A10 to I29. So I am just going to redo this. I'm going to delete this. So in 06, I want to use the D average. So I'm going to come here and search and type in D average. In my database, let's just type this in here. A10 through I29. The field that I want it to look at is total sales. And the criteria is Q5 colon Q6, and say OK. So now my formula references A5 to I29. I think what I did before was I think I actually got the heading information. Well, no, that would have been it. Not sure what happened the first time, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize, but that should be okay now. So now in the account representatives worksheet 07, so come down here to 07, I messed both of them up. It should reference the range E11 to E29. So sometimes for me, it's just easier to start over with the function. So here in the 07, I'm going to come up here to the search. I want the SUMIF function, and I want it to look at the range E11 through E29. and I want it to look at Q6 as my criteria, and the sum range is F11 through F29, and say OK. So the numbers I'm getting back are actually the same. It's just that the grader wants to make sure that that cell range is listed in there. Instead of using the names for the range, actually use the cell addresses. So let's see where else. Looks like that's it. So I'm going to close this graded report. I'm going to save my file and close it. And now I'm going to go back to Cengage again, and I'm going to reopen my assignment and resubmit it. Now I'm ready to look at my graded summary report, and now I have everything corrected. So as I said before, I've done this assignment a number of times, and when I look at the graded report, there's things I have to go in and fix. In fact, one time I fixed some things, resubmitted it, and then all of a sudden it said, hey, you did something else wrong. And so I had to go back in and redo that and then resubmit it. So it can be really tricky when you're working in your worksheets and working in your databases. So do the best you can. Hopefully you've learned something new following me along as I worked the assignment for myself. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel, like my videos so you can see when I post something new on my channel. I hope wherever you are that you have had some sunshine in your life today, either with the sun or with something good happening to you. I will catch you next time on Linda's Take on Office. Bye.